Midnight news coming to you live from Algiers, the headlines. The Zionist occupation's army kills 38 Palestinians and injures 100 others in the ongoing massacre on the Gaza Strip. Also coming up, Qatari foreign minister urges ceasefire in the Gaza Strip to avert a regional explosion. Next, Algeria-Oman Joint Committee meeting achieves objectives in political consultation and coordination. And clashes escalate in Khartoum and Al-Fashir amid Darfur probe. Welcome again. Palestinian Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip said that during the past 24 hours, the occupation committed 3 massacres against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, killing 38 and wounding 100. The same source said that the toll of the Zionist aggression had risen to 37,202 martyrs and 84,932 wounded since last October 7. Egypt and Qatar announced that they had received the response of Hamas and the rest of the Palestinian factions to the proposal for a ceasefire deal in the Gaza Strip and a prisoner exchange with the Zionist entity, which was revealed by U.S. President Joe Biden at the end of last May. The proposal includes 3 phases of a ceasefire and ultimately stipulates a permanent cessation of hostilities and the release of Zionist detainees in Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Qatari Foreign Minister Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al-Thani said that during Wednesday in the press conference with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken that reaching an agreement for the war in Gaza will save the region from explosion. He added that both parties are required to make concessions to reach an agreement. Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al-Thani called for an end to the Zionist war on the Gaza Strip.
We are going to continue to push.
Our biggest concern is that it's taking too long to bridge these gaps. We need to get this to an end as soon as possible. That's what will remain our focus. Our focus is to put an end for this war. Our interest as a country is to see peace and stability in the region. It doesn't mean that we are endorsing one party over another.
For his part, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said his country will continue to work with its partners to complete the agreement. Let's take a listen.
But in the days ahead, we are going to continue to push on an urgent basis with our partners, with Qatar, with Egypt, to try to close this deal. Because we know it's in the interests of Israelis, Palestinians, the region, indeed, the entire world. And we all agree that the deal has to be grounded in the principles of the ceasefire proposal that the entire international community supports.
The White House said that it's working to evaluate the response provided by Hamas to Egypt and Qatar to the ceasefire proposal put forward by U.S. President Joe Biden. U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said that it was useful to receive a response from Hamas. UN Human Rights Office spokesman Jeremy Lawrence expressed profound shock at the heavy civilian casualties resulting from the Zionist entity's last attack in the Nusayrat refugee camp. Jeremy Lawrence said that such action by the Zionist forces may constitute a war crime.
It was conducted by holding hostages in such densely populated areas. The armed groups doing so are putting the lives of Palestinian civilians, as well as the hostages themselves, at added risk from the hostilities. All these actions by both parties may amount to war crimes.
Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor presented the reported violations against Palestinian prisoners and detainees from Gaza, including killing, torture, and injections with unknown substances. The monitor confirmed that the occupation army continues to systematically commit crimes of violent torture and inhuman and degrading treatment against thousands of Palestinian civilians who were arrested from the Gaza Strip. The monitor said that the testimonies of a number of those released confirmed that they were subjected to severe beatings, torture with electric shocks, insults, attempted injections with unknown substances, and deprivation of treatment and food. The Algerian Foreign Minister, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, praised the convergence and harmony of positions between Algeria and the Sultanate of Oman regarding the core issues concerning the Arab region, especially the Palestinian cause.
I cannot miss the opportunity to commend the convergence, harmony, and alignment of our two countries' positions towards the main cause of our Arab region, foremost among which the Palestinian cause. Both Algeria and the Sultanate of Oman have consistently stood in solidarity with and supported this cause, especially in light of the serious ordeal endured by our brothers in Gaza due to the ongoing Israeli aggression against them. I believe that this harmony, convergence, and alignment are not unfamiliar to our two countries, both of which are imbued with the principles of international law, which reject the policies of polarization and alliances, and which constantly strive to contribute to resolving conflicts and disputes through the application and promotion of peaceful political solutions.
The Omani Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, affirmed his country's support for Algerian efforts in the UN Security Council aimed at stopping Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip, facilitating humanitarian assistance, establishing the Palestinian state, and granting it full membership in the UN. Minister Al Busaidi, during his speech on the occasion of the meeting of the Joint Algerian-Omani Committee in the Algerian capital, highlighted the alignment of political positions and visions between the two countries regarding the Palestinian issue and the legitimacy of the Palestinian people's quest for independence.
We highly appreciate the efforts of Algeria and its relentless endeavors in the Security Council to find a means to halt Israeli aggression and allow the entry of humanitarian, medical, and relief aid. We reaffirm our support for these efforts and commit to working towards granting the Palestinian people the right to establish an independent Palestinian state with full sovereignty with Al-Quds as its capital, in lines with the July 4th, 1967 borders, and that it becomes a fully fledged and active member in the United Nations.
Algerian Minister of Labor Faisal bin Talib said that the Palestinian people are experiencing the most horrific types of persecution, siege, injustice, and starvation in light of a systematic war of extermination in which the most basic human rights are absent. In his speech during the 112th session of the International Labour Conference, the Algerian minister stressed the necessity of empowering Palestinian workers with their rights stipulated in international conventions and supporting them to establish their independent, fully sovereign state with Al-Quds as its capital.
The Palestinian people are experiencing the worst form of oppression, siege, and injustice, and starvation in light of a systematic war of extermination, in which the most basic human rights are absent. For this, we urge the entire international community to work to put an end to the war machine that ignored all the international principles and charters, to spare the lives of our Palestinian brothers and enable the Palestinian workers to exercise their rights stipulated in international conventions, and supporting them to establish their independent and fully sovereign state with Al-Qudus as its capital.
We turn our attention to different developments now. Hebrew media reported that more than 100 rockets were launched from southern Lebanon towards Safed and Tiberias and other surroundings in the occupied Palestinian territories within a few minutes, while the Israeli occupation army reported the outbreak of fires in the north as a result of some rockets failing there, adding that its defenses intercepted a number of shells, while some of them fell in several locations, which led to the outbreak of fires. Trusted by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in his capacity as Special Envoy, the Secretary General of the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Lounes Magraman, conducted a visit to the state of Qatar, where he had a meeting with the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. A statement by the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs clarified that the meeting provided an opportunity to review the distinguished bilateral relations on all levels and the mutual desire of the leadership of both countries to further enhance them. And the head of the Algerian diplomacy undertook a diplomatic mission on Tuesday, serving as special envoy on behalf of President Abdelmajid Tebboune. During his visit to Turkey, Attaf delivered a written message from President Tebboune to his Turkish counterpart, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. During the meeting, Attaf and Erdogan discussed the current cooperation and partnership between Algeria and Turkey, highlighted the positive trajectory of their relations. They also addressed significant developments in the occupied Palestinian territories and the Saharan region. President Erdogan conveyed his warm regards to President Tebboune through Minister Attaf, expressing his eagerness for a future meeting with Tebboune. Algeria and the Sultanate of Oman, represented by their respective foreign ministers, signed 2 memoranda of understanding and 3 executive programs for cooperation in various fields. The signing ceremony took place at the conclusion of the 8th session of the Algerian-Omani Joint Committee in Algiers. The agreements covered areas such as social, scientific, and legal cooperation between the Algerian Higher Judicial School and the Omani Institute of Judicial Studies. Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf affirmed that the 8th session of the Algerian-Omani Joint Committee held Wednesday in the Algerian capital achieved the desired objectives at different levels. In his remarks following the session, Attaf emphasized that the meeting provided an opportunity to enhance political consultation and bilateral coordination, consolidating consensus and alignment in views regarding the rapidly evolving regional developments. He noted that the convening of the Joint Committee falls within the framework of embodying the keenness of Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune and Omani Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said on the necessity of activating mechanisms of bilateral cooperation.
The holding of our joint committee today came as part of the implementation of the lofty instructions of President Abdelmajid Tebboune and His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, who both emphasized the necessity of activating the mechanisms of bilateral cooperation to give further impetus to the historical relations binding our two brotherly countries. I sincerely believe that this session has achieved the desired goals on many levels. This session constituted an opportunity to strengthen political consultation and bilateral coordination in order to enshrine our two countries' consensus, convergent views and positions regarding the rapidly deteriorating developments surrounding us.
The Algerian Foreign Minister also pointed out that the session allowed for a comprehensive evaluation of bilateral cooperation in various fields, describing it as extremely positive.
This session has allowed us to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of bilateral cooperation in various fields, which was highly positive, particularly that the Sultanate of Oman is among the largest Arab countries investing in Algeria in fields that can truly be described as strategic. Moreover, this session has enabled us to identify new priority areas for bilateral cooperation. These areas are of utmost importance to both our countries and their current development efforts, such as renewable energies, pharmaceutical industries, mining resources, desert agriculture, among other fields.
Furthermore, Minister Attaf clarified that the 8th session of the Algerian-Omani Joint Committee involved the participation of economic operators and stakeholders from both sides, aiming to encourage them to exploit available opportunities to realize joint investment projects.
This session has allowed us to involve the actors and economic operators from both the Algerian and Omani sides with the aim of urging and encouraging them to seize available opportunities to implement joint investment projects, following suit to the exemplary partnership that links us in the field of fertilizers production. Furthermore, agreements have been reached to continue negotiations on a significant number of important agreement projects, which are expected to be signed during upcoming bilateral events before the end of the current year.
For his part, Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi praised the quality of the historical relations between Algeria and the Sultanate of Oman, which in his view reflected the success of the Joint Committee's work.
Throughout the ages, this relationship has never encountered any obstacles likely to undermine it. This motivates us to make more efforts and further invest in this exemplary bond that unites our two countries and peoples. I am confident, Your Excellency, the Minister and esteemed attendees, that the future will witness a greater dynamic cooperation and partnership in all the topics, fields and sectors that have been tackled.
The African group in the Security Council, along with Guyana, expressed concern over repeated violations of Syria's sovereignty. Algeria's UN representative, Ambassador Ammar Ben Jama, speaking on behalf of Algeria, Mozambique, Sierra Leone and Guyana warned that these actions undermine regional peace and security. He urged Syrians to overcome differences and engage in a constructive political process, ensuring Syria's unity, sovereignty and independence.
The A3+ are also concerned about violation of Syria's sovereignties and condemns such violation, which also undermine regional peace and security. We call for full respect of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
In his speech, Ben Jama emphasized the need to help the Syrian people achieve lasting peace and prevent further humanitarian deterioration.
Syria cannot rely solely on humanitarian assistance, but must also benefit from the provision of other necessary services to promote economic recovery.
Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, Ambassador Ammar Ben Jama, stated that a self-determination referendum is the only solution to the Western Sahara conflict. Speaking before the United Nations Decolonization Committee, Benjamin criticized Morocco's intransigence and complete refusal to organize a referendum despite its false claims of economic and social progress in occupied territories.
The referendum is technically straightforward but carries a significant political weight as it enables the Sahrawi people to exercise their right to self-determination. The issue lies in Morocco's refusal to discuss anything other than its so-called autonomy proposal. They avoid talks on self-determination, the referendum, human rights in the occupied territories, or the illegal exploitation of resources. I question the Kingdom of Morocco's stubbornness and complete refusal to organize a referendum while it falsely boasts of economic and social progress in the occupied territories.
Benjamin also said that Morocco has been refusing for more than 8 years to allow UN mandate holders and rapporteurs to enter the occupied territories.
Several international organizations are currently in Tindouf and regularly report on the situation in the refugee camps. For the past 8 years, Morocco has denied access to the occupied territories for the UN mandate holders and has rejected my country's proposal to expand MINURSO's mandate to include the supervision of human rights in Western Sahara.
In Algeria, the exceptional review process of the electoral lists began on Wednesday and will continue until June 27. In preparation for the anticipated Algerian presidential elections scheduled for September 7. Mohamed Sharifi, head of the Independent National Election Authority in Algeria, said from Boumerdès province on the sidelines of the official launch of the process that the cleansing of the electoral register is carried out by updating it at every stage and reviewing it with every electoral event. He noted that this process takes into account the new electoral map, especially in light of the emergence of several new residential hubs. Also, Algeria was unanimously elected on Wednesday as chairman of the board of directors of the African Postal Union for the period between 2024 and 2025. The elections took place during the 42nd regular session of the board of directors of the union, which is being held in the city of Arusha, Tanzania, according to a statement by the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications. On Tuesday, clashes between the army and the rapid support forces erupted in Khartoum and Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state. Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court called for evidence collection to uncover ongoing atrocities against civilians in Darfur. Hussam Barkan has more details.
After a bloody week in Khartoum, Al Jazeera, and Al-Fashir, which left about 300 dead and hundreds wounded in 3 horrific massacres, the intensity of confrontations between the conflicting sides in Sudan is escalating. Heavy weapon confrontations occurred near the Army Armored Corps camp in Khartoum. In Al-Fashir, 6 children were killed on Tuesday in an exchange of bombardment across several neighborhoods. The army, with support from Allied Joint Forces, claimed to have driven the Rapid Support Forces out of Al-Fashir, inflicting significant losses.
The armed forces, along with joint forces from the Juba peace movement, taught the mercenaries of the terrorist Rapid Support Militia a lesson in courage and valor, chasing the remnants out of Al-Fashir and causing losses in equipment and lives.
The deteriorating situation in Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state, which has been witnessing violent clashes for over a month, has left hundreds dead and wounded, and more than 800,000 people besieged by hunger and battles. This prompted the International Criminal Court to demand the collection of evidence of grave violations against civilians.
Urgent call for information and cooperation from all partners, wherever you are, to address the unfolding crisis in Darfur, in Sudan. We are appealing to all victim groups, all civil society organizations, national authorities, and international partners that are able to do so to engage with my office and to provide any evidence and material relating to the ongoing atrocities being inflicted on the civilian population across Darfur. But in addition, I am extremely concerned about allegations of widespread international crimes being committed in El Fasher and its surrounding areas as I speak. As an office, we are investigating these crimes with urgency.
As the conflict continues, the humanitarian situation worsens. The United Nations report over 10 million displaced people and refugees, with thousands of children at risk of dying from starvation and malnutrition, amid the absence of any initiative to end the Sudanese tragedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was it for tonight's program. Thank you for tuning in. If you missed any part of it, you can always check it on our social media platforms. Thank you and bye-bye.